All right, welcome back to another episode of Sky U Pod. Got me and Max joining you here tonight. Just got some stuff to talk about, Max. Signing day happened. Gophers are going to the Duke's Mayo Bowl, taking on Virginia Tech. Transfer portals opened up. I think there's already like over 1,700 players in there or something like that, which is crazy. But we'll get to all that. Max, how are you doing?
Doing good. Excited for the holiday season. Excited to hear about the
Yeah,
Gopher Bowl game, and yeah, glad to be talking about football still.
yeah. We're gonna get to the playoff talk, but I just it would have been nice for us to preview last week. I got sick. I was wiped out, so unfortunately we weren't able to bring a prediction episode, but everyone who I predicted to win won. So I just want to get that on the record there. Give myself some credit. No. Um it was a great slate of games though. And like I said, there's a lot of upset Alabama people, actually just media people in general, but we're gonna get to all that. I figured we'd start with this, Max. The Gophers National Signing Day class is in. 21 commits, consists of 5 D linemen, a quarterback, 2 linebackers, 2 receivers, 2 corners, 4 offensive linemen, 2 running backs, a punter, and a kicker. Um, that brought it to the 51st nation in the class, 16th in the Big Ten. I'll let you comment on those rankings here too. For me, I think once you're outside like a top 15 class, I don't think it matters a whole lot. Top 20, top 25, I get it. All looks amazing. I think class 40 is a lot closer to class 16 than 16 is to 10, if that makes
Sure.
sense. That's just how I feel about it. Um, Obviously, I'd love to have more 4 stars and 5 stars. Who wouldn't? But I'm not too upset about the 51st ranking, I guess, next to that recruiting class. Dave's joining us here tonight. ESPN's SEC bias is so awful. Nick Saban is a BS. Yeah. Yeah, he's a great coach and he definitely was a whiner. I tweeted it out something along the lines of, shoving another little Debbie oatmeal cream pie down his gullet. Just he was just going off. Like they lost 3 games, people. We'll get to that though. But the signing class is headlined by Emmanuel Camaro. I don't know how you say last name. Out of Robbinsdale Cooper, 4 star D end, number 1 kid in Minnesota, once again staying home, which you love to see. And of course, Jackson Collick, 3 star officially, borderline 4 star, out of California, 6'3", 215, threw for a ton of yards and touchdowns, had a lot of offers out there. Both of them signed uh, the letter of intent when it matters there on National Signing Day. So, Max, yeah, just your thoughts in general about the recruiting class rankings. 16th in the Big Ten. Obviously, you'd like to see a little bit better there, but again, kind of different day and age altogether with the signing day class. Just what are your thoughts in general? Maybe who's a kid that you're excited about?
Yeah, like you said in general, once you get past the top whatever ranking, it's really hard to really grade it because it kind of depends on need, right? Like you look at the class, it seems like we kind of got a little bit of everything, which is nice. We got some special teams guys, we got offense, we got defense. So I don't know. I'm really not upset with it. And we've talked about this too, where it's like the rating today is one thing, but what is it in 2 or 3 years after the transfer portal classes and kids transfer in and out too? So it's like, what is the recruiting class grade really mean if hopefully they all stay or most of them stick
Right.
around, but just in this day and age of college football, like what does it really matter? I guess, but
And the other part to that too is any place you're lacking that you wanted maybe more guys at, is you can replenish now through the
sure,
portal. So yeah, it comes and it goes, right? Like you want to get excited about guys, but odds are half
yeah,
of these guys aren't going to be here in 2 years. So
right. And obviously, it is there is something to say about like it can be the class rankings can be used as some sort of scale for how well is your staff, you know, attracting talented players. But
sure.
if you look at year in and year out, I mean, PJ Fleck's done a pretty solid job of at least keeping the top players in state and in the area. And like this year in particular, we've got the number 1 kid in the state in our class again, we've also got the number 2 and the number 3 ranked players from Minnesota as well. So I think keeping the top talent in Minnesota and keeping them home is just huge for our culture and our team. I think it's more fun for the fans to watch too, and you see these kids
Yeah,
playing in the prep bowl and all that kind of stuff too. So overall, I like the class. There are, outside of Carmo, the next three are, according to 247, all 89 ranks, which put them at a borderline 4 star, like you said about
yeah,
Colic. And then also Jaquan Stubbs, the D lineman out of Cleveland, and Ethan Stendel, the number 2 player in the state out of Caledonia, a linebacker. So, one 4 star ranked player, but three other kids that are borderline. I mean, they might
yeah,
all really be 4 star talent, or they might not, but I don't know. I think we've got some good options, and like I said, just from a lot of different positions. It's nice to see.
yeah,
Um, I'm interested to see. If I had to pick one player that I'm most excited about, it's probably Carmo, just because he's a top ranked player in the state and probably the most talented, or should be coming in.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but if I had to pick one other guy that for some reason stands out, and I don't know why, if you go down the list a bit, is an edge rusher out of Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, Rhett Lavaca.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not at the top of most people's lists, but watching his tape a little bit, he's pretty athletic. I think he played mostly a linebacker, even some safety in high school. A little bit undersized coming in at the edge position, but I think he's kind of a project player that they can put some weight on that frame. And he doesn't really have many other offers from any other Power Four schools, so it feels like a kid that's going to come in with a chip on his shoulder from Wisconsin,
Yeah.
and he could end up being a freak.
If I remember correctly, and PJ talked about all of them, so I very well could be, but I'm pretty sure he's the kid they took that's got a wrestling background as well. I thought that's
Yeah.
what he had. So,
Yep.
um, I always like it when the linemen have that. I mean, they got to get it when you know how to get leverage on people to begin with. That's huge for that position on both sides. So,
Right.
um, yeah, that's always a nice background to have, and I do like that pickup. Yeah, I'll pair it what Ryan Burns had said on one of his pods. I don't remember which one. He said if he had to pick a guy that was most likely to start right away, he would go with both the corners we picked up. So at Naheem Parrish out of New Jersey, he was his overall graded out to an 88. So like you said, just a notch or two below a 4 star. And then the other guy, Zachary Harden out of Georgia, who he's a kid too that committed early and picked up a lot of interest late. So seeing him sign, on National Signing Day, a lot of those kids can flip on you. You never know for sure. Getting him there once he committed out so early and holding him, when he is coming from the South, and all those schools seem to kind of tune in later. That's great to see. And just losing your two starting corners on the outside, bringing two guys in that, it wasn't just Ryan Burns. He brought in I'm forgetting I'm forgetting 247's like national guy, but he had Ryan Burns had him on the Allen guy. Allen, I want to say Trudeau, but it's not Trudeau. But Allen something was on his pod, and they're talking about it, and both of them were very high in both corners. So to bring guys like that in that could help right away when you're losing 2 stars, always great to see. My guy I'm going with, outside the obvious too, I stayed away from Pollock. He is the one, if I'm being honest, the quarterback's the one I'm most excited about. He brings an athleticism that the other guys here don't really have right now, right? I mean, they're kind of Drake Lindsey's more of a big arm pocket passer, and Collick's definitely a passer as well, but a little bit more athletic, a little more mobile. Um, I'm going Bradley Martino, the receiver out of Florida, 3 stars, currently 6'3", 175. Played both ways in high school, but he's a guy that goes up and gets the ball. And when you read the write ups on him, he's just a guy that goes up. I think they phrase it like above the shoulder pad ball catcher. So he just elevates for the ball so smoothly. Um, he's another guy. I noted it with the corners that was getting attraction late from teams around him. Had a few other nice offers in there as well from like Pitt, Mississippi State, guys like that. I think Sparty also came after him late as well. So getting him to sign, uh, solid route runner that decent speed that can go up and get the football. That seems to be PJ's mo as far as what he looks for in receivers is guys that are have a frame that can go up and win contested catches. So he looks to fill that role, and yeah, anytime I single out a receiver, that I feel like it never works out, but knock on wood, I think Bradley Martino is going to be the guy that sticks around and makes an impact in this class. So that's who I singled out.
Yeah.
Uh, let's see here. Dave says, I like the class. What quarterback would you get in going to the transfer portal right now? Well, if I had my pick, there's a lot I would choose for. Honestly though, like I want if we're gonna go out and get a quarterback, which PJ said he wants, I want somebody that brings something different that we don't really have here at this moment. So obviously you want some experience, or as you wouldn't be going there. So I look at guys, and we're not going to get these guys, but like the UNLV guy, the Tulane kid that have athleticism, and I know those are probably more highly sought after guys. I just want, if we're going to bring in another quarterback, which we're going to, I want somebody that can bring in another element to the game as well, that can move a little bit. So that's the type of guy I want. My guess is that we end up with somebody more like, kids that we went after the first time that maybe didn't stick around. Like I know I'm blanking on his name, the Kansas State kid. He left for Kansas State. He's back in the portal.
Oh, was that Knuth? Knuth?
Yes, yes. I think somebody like that, or you know, I know we don't want him, but I think somebody like a Tyler Van Dyke that played a little bit, maybe coming off an injury, but is on their final year of eligibility. I think we'll go for somebody like that. That's going to be cheaper in NIL because they're coming off an injury, or we'll go small school is my prediction. But me personally, I would love to get a guy that can do a little bit of running with his legs. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be nice to get a. I mean, here's a name that can kind of do that. Would be Gavin Wimsett or Wimsott, former Rutgers quarterback, is transferring
Oh
out of
yeah.
Kentucky now. If we can get him in some packages to just run the ball, but
Well, I know the Duke guy is also transferring now too, but I'm guessing he's going to have a little
yeah,
bit more of a bidding war. Yeah, I
yeah,
don't have the
that's the thing.
class in
Like,
front of me.
it's hard to find like the situation we're in right now. It's hard to find a guy that could start, you trust to start, but you also have to convince him to come in and not necessarily be the guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
No, yeah, it's the
but
hardest job right now, and because you really like Drake Lindsay by all reports,
yeah,
and obviously you want to have an emergency plan there if something's not ready. But
right,
all these guys at the top, it's gonna be tough to get them here. They're all gonna want money, obviously. Um, so to get a top guy, you're gonna have to spend for a top guy. Um, and I think when you're the Gophers, where you have a young guy that you like and don't want to just chase away necessarily, Um, oh, Jacob Zeno, he's already committed, I guess. So that was the Tulane guy, I believe, wasn't it?
he was UAB.
Anyway,
Tulane
oh
guy
UAB. Okay,
is Darian Menza.
didn't the Tulane? Okay, I take the Tulane guy. He's the one that started this year, right? He looked good.
Yeah, he was really good. He's
Um,
probably going to cost a lot.
right, right. So like that's what I'm saying. Like if I could pick anyone though, that's where I'm going. I'm going dual threat.
Right. Yeah. Or even like the kid from Liberty, like he's transferring. I don't know what he's like mentally, but
Yeah. So the only thing I saw the game after their loss. It was like a Thursday night game, and he was struggling. Like it was back and forth game, like a lot of offense, but it was like
yeah.
I don't know. I didn't think he looked. It was one game, and it was like the only time I really watched him play. So
Yeah.
obviously, a lot of teams want him. That's not a good sample size. I just don't think the Gophers are going to shell out the top money to get one of the big name quarterbacks. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Right. And maybe
I,
we
I
go
think they
FCS
have a
again.
plan to bring in. That's what I think. I was just going to say. I think they're going to go after FCS, another type situation. Plus, that's the sales pitch, right? I think I said it last show. You can show this is what we did for Brosmer. He's going to get looks. He got invited to whatever this Senior Bowl is. He's probably, if not drafted, going to get signed to somebody. So he got shown, and he had a great year. So, yeah, I think
Right.
that's the format that they're probably trying to follow at this point.
Right. because yeah, you got to convince a kid, right, that even being the number two quarterback in Minnesota is still a step up from being the starter at wherever you came from, and that's hard to
Yeah, and
find that paired with
right.
a high talent level.
Yeah, I mean, here's a kid I know for sure that's in there too. Devin Brown's gonna enter after the Ohio State season. That guy's a great athlete, and
Yeah,
I don't know. He was a 4-star coming out of high school, and I know he's probably not as good of a passer that we're hoping for at this point. Someone like that I would take. But back to your point, the FCS guys, I think they're out. They're gonna have to go just because of NIL and what they're going to promise. But when they go to him, what I was going to add to that is I don't think they have to even sell him necessarily on the backup role. I think they're going to tell him if you can beat out the guy we like, it's yours. Like I don't think they're
right.
like fully putting Drake Lindsay in the steering, position yet. But um, sounds like it's progressing that way, which is always good. You want because then you got 4 years of him, so or 3 years if he's going to go
Yeah,
pro. But
it's a good problem to have.
yeah. Speaking of the transfer portal, there have been a few players that have jumped in. Nothing crazy yet. Gophers have 7 players currently leaving. We lost some of those, scholarship D linemen that we were always talking about. We never saw play. So some of those guys jumped in, like Luther McCoy. He's moving on for his last year. Hayden Schwartz, he's moving on for his. He's got a couple years actually, but somebody that was kind of buried on the depth chart. Honestly, the biggest ones are probably Jordan Newman's moving on, and C.A. Bangura. So the Ohio transfer from last year's moving on, and Jordan Newman is moving on. Puts you really with just, I mean, you got Darius Taylor there, and I can't pronounce the guy's name, but the freshman's name, Ifemi, um, who's a highly touted guy, and I know they like him a lot out of Pennsylvania from last year. He was like the number 9 kid in the state of Pennsylvania. So him and Darius is all we got really right now as far as scholarship backs, I believe. There's probably other guys there, but those would be your leading 2 backs as this point. Um, Nothing really shocking there. Um, I don't know, but this thing's open for so long, it could really go. I want to say it could go south here quick, depending on who jumps in there. What I was going to say to you, Max, Darius Taylor has announced they're staying. They're staying. Coy Perrick has announced they're staying. I'm waiting for Anthony Smith and Devin Eastern to announce the same thing. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, those two would be huge, and I think depending on what I mean, if they both stay, I think that really changes our strategy for who we want to get in the portal too.
Yeah.
Um, so it feels like either way, the sooner we know, the better, obviously. But yeah, I mean, those two guys staying would be huge for this defense, just because like we talked about, the depth at the D line, either the talent wasn't there or for whatever reason just isn't being used. So we kind of need to keep our guys in house
Yeah.
because we don't really know what we have behind them.
Right. And I mean, getting Devin Eastern back and Anthony Smith back, you're returning 3. Well, I know Anthony Smith wasn't technically a starter, but he played just as much as your other starters. So you're basically returning 3 out of 4 starting D linemen if you get those 2 back. I just wish they would put out the statement. Um, I was listening to Ryan Bird's podcast, and he was saying how like Coy and uh, Darius made those announcements, but I guess technically like the new deals haven't been signed yet. Not to scare
Mm,
anybody, he wasn't reporting that, but just meant like obviously it's a good sign that they announced they're staying. It just the official signings haven't happened. So where I'm going with that is maybe that's when Devin Eastern and Anthony Smith are also going to announce their staying.
right.
Is just once that the actual dotted line is staying, because I haven't seen any panic really from Peach or the guys they've gone after in the portal yet. Like nothing there has screamed to me panic. Yeah, they've offered some. Currently, they've offered 2 D tackles and 3 D defensive ends, and I know that sounds like a lot, but you offer a lot of those guys just to get their attention right away, right? Those aren't visits that they have scheduled with everybody yet or anything. I mean, you throw it out there and see if they're interested, and then you start talking on that stuff. So
Yeah.
I think you'd be seeing a lot more push. Like for instance, we've also offered 4 receivers. I don't think we're gonna bring in that many. I'd be shocked if we bring in that many. I just think you'd see a bigger number like that out there if it was really going on, and you'd see more out like JUCO type guys too, which they have. I don't really seen yet. I think maybe one of the D linemen is, but um, we're trying to bridge a gap here and there. Um, that's kind
Right.
of where you turn to. Dave's got a couple comments here, and then Max, go ahead and comment on anything I just threw out there. The guy that I thought would hit the transfer portal didn't. The guy that I think he meant thought would hit the transfer portal. I wasn't surprised.
The guy that he
I
thought
don't know if
would
that's a
hit the
complete.
portal.
Yeah, I think there's somebody Dave thought would hit the portal that didn't. Okay. I could scare them when they don't sign. I don't take any kid's word for it. Just look what happened to our basketball team last year. Well, that's a good point. Um, yeah, anything could change. So, yeah, that's a good point, Dave. Don't celebrate, I guess, yet that Darius and Coy announced they say, because someone could always come along and throw a Nike bag at them. But I really don't see. I would be shocked if Coy left. I really would be. Like he is the
Right.
guy here.
Yeah. Like you got it all. You got it made.
He's
Like
the
it's
guy on campus, like, and he's gonna
yeah.
be for as long as he's here. And to be, like I said, to be the most popular guy on campus as a safety, it just doesn't happen. So,
As a true
um,
freshman.
yeah,
Like, yeah. Um, one guy, I guess, to go back to D line. I don't want to skip over. We do still have Jalen Logan Redding, so
yep,
we do have
yep,
one guy that
absolutely.
we know for sure. That we know what we've got in him coming back, but still, I mean, getting Devin Eastern is just such a pivotal piece to the defense. Like, we really can't stress it enough. He's got to come
Well, look how
back.
much he played this past year, right?
I
Like he never
know
came off.
he
And they're
never
like,
did,
yeah, Devin's really banged up. And then you go next game and he's out there every snap, which is awesome to see that he can go out and
and
battle for the guys like that.
he's out there and he's dominating.
Yeah. No,
Banged up,
he's so
like
good. There's so many games I didn't rewatch any game during the season because I thought it was like, I don't know, me getting full of the team. I know it doesn't work that way. It's just it's more of a, I don't know, superstitious thing, I guess. But I have rewatched a few since, and there are so many runs that just look like nothing runs, in the game. Like, oh, nice, we stopped him at the line. And almost all of them, it feels like it's Devin Eastern and sometimes Anthony Smith, but Devin Eastern's just shoving his guy off to the side, coming over, grabbing the legs, and falling on him for like a no gain. Like, there were so many plays that he disrupted. I'm with you. I, I would argue they're probably two of the most important guys you got to bring back that are still out there.
yeah,
I think there's an argument you could even more so than Darius, but probably not because we don't have them enough weapons on offense. So, but they're huge. They're equal. Couple more here. Fing Low, good class. Let's road a boat. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good class as well. They seem to hit a lot of needs. I always like when we're stocking up in the trenches. 4 offensive linemen, 5 defensive linemen, especially when people like Minnesota, you look at Jaw Joyner, you look at Ariante Ursary, both had plenty of offers, but they were guys that were maybe a little bit undersized that came here and we developed. So basically, the transfer portal is there, yes, but when you're Minnesota, you're going to develop those guys with the guys you bring in out of these classes, and there's definitely those bodies there at tackle and at defensive edge that they got in this class. So very excited for that, especially when the top guy is getting comparisons to Boy Mafe, a guy that's doing pretty dang good right now for the Seattle Seahawks and the NFL. So, yeah, I'm not concerned at all that it's ranked in the 50s. We've had other classes ranked in the 50s, and you know the guys down south are always going to have a higher rating. I mean, the players out of the south, and with good reason. A lot of the best D tackles and stuff do come from there, but I think the linemen in the Midwest are a little bit slept on. I'll just say that. I don't think they get the equal rating that they that they do like the people in California get or that the people down south get. Dave chimes back in. I'm surprised. Oh, you're not surprised by the players that are hitting the portal, right? I, I wouldn't say it's surprising. I guess of the guys that are in the portal, I thought Newman would maybe just stay. I don't blame him for not staying because I think he's only got a year left, and to want to try and go be the guy somewhere, I totally get that. Just with how thin the room is, I know they probably told him that they're going to go out and try and bring some people in. I thought Newman maybe would stick around, or CA, but CA was someone they were so high on, and when
Did he
they
get
got,
5 carries? 4?
and they were all in
Maybe.
like blowout opportunity, and they wasn't
Yeah.
like meaningful snaps. So that one was surprised me for whatever reason. It didn't work out. Whatever, it wasn't a fit. Not everything out of the portal is going to be an automatic hit. It was just weird that it wasn't like just they talked him up to get him here. It was once he was here, especially because Marcus Major was out with injury through a lot of spring ball, and so he was kind of looking like he was going to win the number 2. I think we did a whole pod on it, and look how that turned out. But anyway, like they were saying so many good things about him, and whatever reason it didn't work out. So no ill will there. I just was surprised, I guess, that with Marcus Major moving on, both of those two looking like to be the guy, maybe potentially at number 2 in the portal. It is what it is, and I'm sure the Gophers will go after some running backs here in the portal.
Yeah. And we did offer the kid from Michigan, no? The
Yes,
running
I
back.
want to talk about that. He's from the same class as Darius Taylor. He was rated above Darius Taylor at the time. Went to Michigan, stayed home. Don't blame him. Had a ton of offers. Also, 45 minutes away from Darius Taylor, and he's already following a bunch of guys on the team. Now, he still has to do his visit and everything. He probably is going to take more visits than just us, but I don't think he saw the field at all yet. So I don't say you can get him on a discount, but having that connection with Darius Taylor and you jumping out and showing so much interest, he knows you run the football a lot. You just played them, so I think it's a pretty good showing. And I don't know him at all. I don't have any insider info, but this one feels like a good bet. Is all I'm saying. Feels like a good chance to land this one.
Right. The fact that he's already on his visit, too, is a good sign. And especially coming from a big school like Michigan, but seeing as what we produced, being familiar with, like you said, being maybe familiar with Darius and having that connection there, both being Michigan kids. And for, selfishly, it's nice, too, you can get a guy in the portal like that still has 3 years of eligibility left.
Oh yeah,
Because with him and Darius in the next couple of years, if he were to come, that's pretty nice too. Just have that in your back pocket of like this isn't a one and done situation where it's got to work out
right,
right away. It just
right.
helps. I don't know, having that added player for a couple extra years is just the added
Yeah, not
benefit
a one
there.
and done. Well, especially because Darius this is going to be his 3rd year here, so I would assume maybe not, depending on how the year goes. I would assume that he's looking to be in the NFL after this year, just with how the running back position
Maybe.
goes. He's got a lot of carries. He's had some injuries. Usually those guys get out when they can just to take their best chance at making it at the next level. So, yeah, to your point, I'd love to get him in here, someone with multiple years. Um, just a couple other guys I wanted to run through it. Here are the guys, I'll run through the list here, that we actually have visits set up for. So let's just take a look at this. Cole Cabana, that's the running back out of Michigan, 3 years left. Javon Tracy, Miami of Ohio receiver, 2 years left. Rashawn Lawrence, Stony Brook, D lineman, D tackle, I believe, as well. Matthew McDoom,
Great
cornerback,
name.
Coastal Carolina. That is sweet, and you gotta play defense with a name like that. Alvin Ebosel, Baylor left tackle, 2 years remaining. That's one. Well, I'll finish it. Stephen Curtis, Illinois State defensive end, 2 years remaining. The left tackle from Baylor, that's the one. Like, if you could, of the 7 guys here that have official visits scheduled, um, you could pick one that you're guaranteed to get. a left tackle with playing experience and 2 years left to perfectly fill in with Arianti Ursary leaving. To me, that's like the top of my wish list now of the guys they've offered. I'd still love a receiver. They've offered a ton of them. I'm glad they got Tracy here visiting. I think, is he the one that was former freshman in the MAC? That might be him. If he's the
I
only,
have
oh
no
no,
idea.
that might be. Yeah, he's the Miami Ohio guy. Yeah, that's him. So he won. He was the MAC or on the All MAC freshman team for receivers there. So maybe a little Elijah Spencer esque there with that pickup if we can get him to commit. But yeah, the tackle out of Baylor with a lot of starts, and he started at interior guard as well. Um, that would be perfect for filling in for what this team needs on a gap year where you got those young talented guys still kind of developing behind them, so there's no pressure for them to play right away. But Max, who stands out to you, and what do you notice just about the guys we've offered so far, or guys that got a visit here?
Yeah, we already talked about Cabana. I think just in general the fact that we are offering a lot of wide receivers, I don't know if that's a sign for concern with the guys that we've got, or if it's just knowing that we have to offer a handful and hopefully get one or two just to fill in the gaps. But um, I don't know. I'm hoping we offer more cornerbacks too, unless we're pretty confident with the guys we've got. I think that stands out the most. And I know it's really early too, but we've only offered the one, right? McDoom, which maybe, and not that nothing
Yeah.
against him, but I mean, we don't know if he's actually going to sign here or not. And I think we need more
Oh
than
yeah.
one guy anyways. So
Right.
I'm a little curious what the strategy is going forward. Or, I mean, there's still so much time left. Like, I think the portal is still open till like the 27th, isn't it? So
It's open a long
there's
time.
there's still plenty of time left for them to offer more guys, but I don't know. I think with just the number of offers we've put out there, I'm a little bit surprised that only one is to a cornerback. Is maybe my
That's a good.
biggest concern.
Yeah. Yeah. It's open till the ends on September December 28th. So yeah, they got a little bit here. I think more corners make sense. I'm not going to get as excited this year as I did last year when somebody commits, because how many guys did we have commit and then somebody comes along and didn't get the guy they wanted, so they
Right.
just increase their initial offer, and
Yeah.
you have guys committing and decommitting
And
before they're
then
actually even here. So we'll do a recap once the actual portal closes and talk about that stuff. I mean, we can still talk about when guys are committed, but I'm not counting them on the team this year until they're actually here
well,
in
there's still the
force.
spring window too.
Well, that's
So
true. Okay, so
it is
you
hard to
know,
get excited. You're right.
I'm going to temper expectations either way. What one thing? That's a great point. I think corner. I'd be surprised if they only bring in one, but maybe they like, you know, Kerry Brown and Gooseby and Coy back there. Maybe Kerry Brown's transitioning to cornerback, or just that slot corner. So and they like their guys on the outside with is it Zaquan Bryan and then
Yeah.
Ryan Kelly or something like that, the big long corner out of Canada. He played a little bit against Illinois. He got picked on a little bit, but that was like really his first playing time, so can't really blame him there. But they were really high on both of those guys. So
Yeah. Is this is random? Is McMillan gone? Is he out of eligibility?
no, no,
We
I
still
think
have
he's
him
back.
too.
I think he's back for one more. I should
Yeah.
look that up, but I thought he was back. He's the
So
guy
that's
that
kind of
came
nice
from
too.
TCU, right?
Yeah, and he kind of played that Jack Henderson type spot as
Yeah.
well. More pass coverage, but
If you could keep him, and then if Coleman's staying, then I mean, if all those guys are staying, you got a lot of bodies in the secondary. I know a lot of them are more safety, but you saw how many safeties played. Yeah, McMillan's got another year. So if those guys are playing more of a corner role, and then you got Bryson, Coy, and like Gooseby and Coy are staying safety for sure. Kerry Brown probably is too, but I feel like he could play the slot easier. Coleman Bryson could basically be Jack Henderson. I think they're built very similarly. It looks like so. I'm not sure if he's quite as physical, but he's a pretty big bodied dude. And then yeah, McMillan's a coverage guy. You got the two corners you already like, and then bringing one in. Yeah, I mean, you'd probably be thin, but we were pretty thin this year. So yeah, I agree though. I would be surprised if they don't try and get more than one. Probably just got to wait and see where all your NIL money is gonna actually go and for what position. Um, the other thing I want to get your thoughts on is we have not offered a linebacker yet, which to me is very surprising, especially given I think it was on the Pair and the Spare podcast today with Brian Burns and Justin Guard. They were talking about who they're expecting to play or not play in the bowl game, and Burns said something. I'm paraphrasing something along the lines like, "Oh well, he hasn't announced his intentions yet, but I'd be surprised if Cody makes the trip down." So it's like, well, if he's not playing in the bowl game, then he's probably not coming back. And if Cody's not coming back, I think you absolutely need to go out and get a linebacker in the portal. Like that might be my number one priority almost of going to get somebody in the portal if Cody Lindenberg isn't back. Because I mean, I like Mav. You got Matt Barakowski there and Devin Williams, but other than that, it's all unproven guys. I know they like a few of the young guys, and they brought in a couple guys this year, but linebackers usually take some time to get physically ready to go out there and play. At least for us, at least it seems that way. So I don't know, man. If Cody's gone, do you agree? Like for me, linebacker jumps up to number one priority if Cody is taking his chance at the NFL at this point.
Yeah, I think you have to just minimally from a depth perception, like or perspective, because if any of our guys go down, then we literally have nothing left. Like
Yeah.
it's going to be true freshmen, and we've already seen that song and dance. So maybe it's like cornerback too. Maybe it's a good sign that they like the guys that they have. But I agree. If Cody's gone, then we got to get at least one in
Well,
the portal.
and that's just why I'm surprised. Like maybe you could say that maybe there's not one that they like yet, and I'm sure there's high profile guys in there that are going to cost too much and all this stuff. But like if if he's gone, I can't imagine them not bringing somebody in. And you would think that the coaches know or have a pretty good idea what he's going to do at this point. So it's not like you're going to. I wouldn't wait. Like if I
Right.
think Cody Lindenberg might be leaving my football team, I'm giving him a deadline of like tomorrow to let me know, just to get know what I got to go out and do. Like
Right.
I know there's a
Well,
lot of
like
time before the portal closes, but like I want to get out there and get as many guys in here, basically interview for the job as possible. Like I don't
right.
know, I
Well, and thinking near term too, like who's taking first team reps right now? Like we
right,
still have a game.
yeah.
And
I
who's
mean,
who's
you're going
getting
with Mav and Devin Williams, I guess, but and then
sure.
I don't have the roster pulled up in front of me. There's the kid from Minnesota who's a true freshman this year that they like. Is he going to be ready as a redshirt freshman? I don't know. I am I'm hurt from Rossi's overselling of linebackers making their first starts in the past. From Mari Sori Marin to the guy that they tried to grab in the portal last year, that Ryan Selig or whatever. I didn't have to say his name, I guess, but just guys that didn't work out. Mari Sori Marin worked out. Don't get me wrong. He was like
Took
two
forever.
took 2 years to get to the point from where the coach. Well, when the coaches talk about him as an all conference linebacker to going to hey, he was good, but to get to that point, it took a while. So hopefully Heatherman is a lot better at identifying talent and getting it ready, which, by the way, by the end of this year, our linebacker play was a lot better than where it was at the year start. So I'm taking that as a sign of optimism that it can be done. Um, Maybe Heatherman knows what he's got and thinks something can work out there. But yeah, I just would be shocked if Cody is leaving and they're just like, yep, no, that's all right. We got it ready to go. I hope we do. I
Right.
would just be surprised given
Yeah.
the recent history.
Yeah, and I was just curious too. I mean, I took just a quick peek at the list of linebackers, and like, there's a lot. There's a lot of Power Four conference
Yeah,
players too. I mean, I
yeah,
don't. obviously the players have or the coaches have to do their due diligence and do interviews and all that stuff, watch the tape. But like you said, to not have one offer,
Yeah.
like there's not one guy that you're just going to take a shot at because you like what you see, and at least have
I
him come
mean,
in for a visit.
well, and they're taking their shots at like these D ends that they like that I don't think D end is a super high priority. Obviously, you always improve the pass rush if you can, but like we went after this we offered the Kent State guy and he's got offers from like everybody. I think even LSU and all these guys are coming after
Right.
him. So like if we're taking shots at that, like I'd love to just throw out an offer to like a super athletic, capable linebacker. Like I think more athleticism to that linebacker room can only help you. Is good. Was what I'm saying. Like I think
Right.
talent wise, it was the bottom of your across all levels of your defense last year. Not that they were like killing us or anything. I just think there's definitely room for improvement there, and I wouldn't mind taking a risk on like a more athletic body type than necessarily like obviously you got to be smart and make your reads, but like if the guy's a little bit more on the stupid side but can run around and hit people and is like fast, yeah, sign me up. I'm willing to take that risk with it because fast and hitting people has been some of the problems of that linebacker room in the recent years. So, yeah, I think a little bit of more of that might help.
So you're saying is we need to see if Tim Brewster wants to come back and
Well,
coach.
he'd identify it for sure. He'd get more on the lack of. He'd find more of the lack of brains people, and I'm not trying to like rip on like I'm not ripping on the guys that actually played under Brewster. I'm ripping on Brewster and the guys that were highly touted that came in and then just never saw the field. That's who I'm going after with that comment. Get the chili
No.
hot for that linebacker room because let's get some bodies in here, man.
I just would think it's funny to see, just to see as an experiment, have Brewster come back and just pick some players, flip on the tape, have him talk to PJ, and just PJ being like, "What in the world is this? Like, these are not the guys we need."
So, but don't you think PJ would love Brewster as like a standpoint? Because Brewster's got all the sayings. He's kind of a hyperactive guy, and PJ's like, this guy gets it. This is the
Yeah,
culture.
I don't think you can have two of those guys in the same room. I
Right.
don't think they're two alike. It's not going to end well.
Yeah. Fleck's a
There'd
much
be
better
some
coach than Brewster. I don't want to
yes,
give out any of the
yeah.
misconception there, but yeah, that'd be fun. I feel
Oh.
like maybe Brewster is like PJ's dad or something, or I don't know. There's some sort
I
of
feel like
similarity in there, just of the
yeah,
sayings and the energy and the
yeah.
passion. Just
He's like
completely different coaching abilities there between those two.
the long lost absent father figure that
Yeah,
PJ has to turn to in the end.
yeah, we'll go with that. Um, and yeah, anything else? I mean, I think we covered it all. I want, wish my wish list remains the same. Yeah, a left tackle that can help out. They're expensive. Um, love that we got the Baylor guy offered and on a visit. um, I want a speed demon at receiver. I don't care if he knows two routes. Have him run a post and a go. Maybe mix in a fade. Just somebody to take the top off the defense because for whatever reason we don't. I swear we recruit those guys every year and then they just never see the field or it just never works out. I know there's a lot more that goes into the playing that position, but I want Tyreek Hill Jr. out there. That's the goal. Um, anything else on the transfer portal, Max?
Yeah, it's so early. It's so hard to even get excited for some of these guys, but it is fun to watch just to see the players that trickle in and kind of make your wish list and
Yeah.
just find out who we're gonna get.
Well, like I mean, you got that UNLV guy, Sluka or Solka or whatever his name was, that opted out halfway through the season or like 4 games into the
Yeah.
season. Would you take him as a 1 year starter here? Like, I wonder if that guy devalued himself so much that now he can just come in and compete here. He doesn't strike me as the guy that would do that based on opting out through 4 games because
Right,
of lack
right,
of
right.
money. But um, Yeah.
I mean, he'd be fun. He would be a complete change to our offense because he's way more of a runner and just a chaotic. I'll put it like this:
That's the
PJ
pitch.
would melt if Saluka was on the field because
Taking chances.
the ball would just be going everywhere and not
Yeah.
necessarily to our guys.
Yeah.
But it'd be fun.
Yeah, that you're the one that said that when I sent in. I'd love a dual threat guy, and you're like, I think PJ just would be too scared. Like guys
He
that
would.
try and create on their own. I think you're right. I think PJ's like, no, no, here's the system, stick to it.
I think the same thing goes for the speed demon types because that's supposed to be Lemecki and New K's have been
New
has been
K's,
advertised as these
yeah.
speedsters, and they just don't do it. Which I
Um,
think has more to do with the offense than the actual players.
yeah, and knock on wood, none of those receivers have jumped in yet. So, and like, I want to see Tyler Williams here, right? Like, he's a big body dude, had a lot of potential. Obviously, as a 5 star. Like, hopefully, we can keep those guys. We'll see how it plays out, but at the end of the day, you got to bring guys in to compete for starting jobs, and they're doing that. All right, college football playoff preview portion of the shows here. Max, I gotta admit, I was not a fan of the 16, or we're not there yet. We're gonna be at 16 teams of the 12-team playoff, but I don't know. Seeing this slate, it's kind of winning me over, to be honest. Oregon gets the 1 seed, going 13-0, well deserved. Georgia with the 2 seed SEC champ makes sense. Boise the 3 seed, Arizona State the 4 seed. Those teams get buys. Look at these games. You got Texas hosting Clemson, Ohio State hosting Tennessee, Penn State hosting SMU, and Notre Dame hosting Indiana. I wasn't a fan of the 12-team playoff, but when I saw these games revealed, I was just like, this is going to be freaking sweet. On campus, too, winter environments in a lot of these places, like Tennessee going to the shoe in December, Indiana, Notre Dame, like in state, that's going to be sick. SMU, high powered offense going into a whiteout game in Death Valley, like that's going to be so sick. And then Dabo, like the coach that does maybe more with less at this point versus Sark, who Texas just always seems to come up short. I think that game's going to be great too. Like I thought everybody was going to see these matchups and be thrilled like I was. Then I logged on to Twitter and just scrolling through the media, I don't know if there's one sports media person I saw that was actually happy with what happened. Joel Klatt's crying about the seeding and where teams got put and yada yada yada. Everybody and anybody that's associated the SEC or ESPN in any way is still, I think, crying that Alabama, who's 9-3 with 2 losses to two 6-6 teams, or at least Oklahoma's 6-6. Did Vandy end up with 7? I'm not even sure. But anyway, 2 not good losses. A 3-loss Bama team didn't make it. Everybody was just pissing their pants. Like nobody I felt like was celebrating these games. So I just wanted your thoughts. Like, what was your thoughts on these? Like, do you think the committee got it right? I'm assuming you did. And then just what are your thoughts on the matchups?
Yeah, I 100% think they got it right. Alabama and Miami being the first two out, I think make the most sense to me. I
Yeah,
think Miami has more of a gripe than Alabama does, only having the two losses.
100%.
Um, and yeah, I'm convinced that that anyone on ESPN would still want Alabama in, even if they lost that game to Georgia. Which the second half of
Yeah,
that game, they absolutely let it slip away and are lucky to have won. But these people talk about it like they didn't even watch the game. So
yeah,
I I think they got it right. I'm excited for it. I'm happy for Boise and Arizona State getting buys. Like I think that's awesome because that's just
I do
more.
too.
It's more proof that if you just win your games and just play your schedule, it doesn't like yes, it matters who you play, but at the end of the day, if you win your games, you're gonna make it. If you win your conference, you're gonna get high seed and probably a bye. Like
Yeah,
I all this talk of like, well, why are these teams even scheduling hard schedules if it doesn't matter if they just it's like
That's
You
the
really
only
think
thing that kept
Alabama's
Bama in the conversation. Sorry.
exactly,
Like,
exactly? And look at Boise. You think if Boise didn't lose to Oregon, if they lost to, I don't know, some random, if
right.
Boise lost to like Washington State or something, they might be on the cusp of not making it.
Right.
Or you want to talk to Army, who's 10-1, only lost to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Their schedule wasn't hard enough, and they weren't
Yeah.
even close.
Right.
So yes, it absolutely benefits you to have a tougher schedule. Plus, when you're a team like Oregon, who just wins all their games, but against a really tough schedule, then you have no worry in the world at all.
Right. Well, and so I think of all the complaints thrown out there, I do understand, and it's not Oregon complaining about this. Dan Lanning has not came out and cried once, so I just want to give him and that team credit because Tennessee, Ohio State, that's probably not one of those teams that you want to have to see as the one seed, which I get, but at the same time, like, where else was the committee supposed to put these guys? Like, I don't.
Right.
Ohio State inexcusably lost to Michigan at home in a game they had no business losing. And since that loss to Oregon, they have lost offensive linemen left and right. So if it is Ohio State that moves on, like I'm sorry, like yeah, it compared to the teams that got in, it might be a little bit harder, but like if you're down to the final eight, you are probably going to be playing a two-loss power. The odds are you're going to get a Big Ten or SEC team in that spot anyway, in my opinion. Like just with how it
Right.
shapes up. So I don't know, man. Like, and Oregon's not crying about it. So, and Joe Klatt's like, we have to get rid of the automatic buys for the other conferences. It's like that's just gonna one of the beauties that Arizona State and Boise getting those first round buys gives you is it helps kind of stabilize out this shifting landscape for a little bit longer. I don't know how long it'll last, but like as soon as you take away like that, I just feel like you're opening okay, like Florida State's gonna jump ship, Clemson's gonna jump ship, all this stuff, right? Because no matter what they do, they're not gonna get that first round buy in their eyes. I'm saying so like I love the conference champs getting those first four spots. I think you absolutely should keep that.
Right.
Because I also there's too much still. It ties into the Bama talk too. There's still too much talk of well, when you look at rewarding the best teams like Tennessee and Ohio State by Vegas, they have top four odds to win the whole thing. It's like when are we going to learn the lesson to not go by odds by what Vegas tells you to win it? I mean,
Right.
what would Bama's odds be if they were to be in? That's what I want to know. Like, so if Bama's
Sure.
in, do they automatically get to go against? Like, do you want to see Bama if you're Oregon? Probably not. Like, I don't get it. Like, the crying's got to stop because all that this is what I'm ultimately getting to. All of the crying last year was like, well, if the SEC got in, all Final Four teams would be the SEC. Blah 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 blah. And now that they did expand it the crying doesn't even stop. You got three SEC teams in there, and you almost got a fourth one in with a three-loss team in Bama. And the crying is even worse. So like I just want it to be done. I just want the complaining to stop, and it's never going to stop. So if all these pundits are right, it better be Georgia and Texas because apparently Oregon got screwed. So it's impossible to beat Tennessee or Ohio State and then also beat Texas and go on to win the Natty. So from all the pundits complaining, that's impossible, and Georgia's got a cakewalk into the Final Four. Same with Penn State. So if any upsets happen, I don't want to hear it from them because they don't know what they're talking about. They still want to go by recruiting rankings and odds. At some point, the results just have to matter, and you have to honor what happened on the actual field. People say, well, then you can't say 12 best teams. You got to say most deserving. I'm fine with that definition switch because it's way more meaningful. It makes it way more watchable. I don't want to see a fifth place SEC team get in. I don't care if they might beat SMU, maybe. I think SMU could win a lot of games in the SEC, especially this year. Um, so yeah, that's my rant. I don't know anything
Yeah.
anything off that.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, a true deserving championship team will have no problem beating whoever they have to play at any point in these playoffs.
Yeah,
If you can't beat if you're Oregon and you can't beat an Ohio State or Tennessee off a bye, then
with
you
them having to
probably
play each
didn't.
other.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Then you probably didn't deserve to make it anyways.
yeah,
So, and on the flip side, if you're Oregon, wouldn't you rather play them in the first round and then maybe get lucky and get a Clemson to make it to the championship game,
yeah.
or Arizona State to make it to the
Right.
championship game if all hell breaks loose? Like,
That's what I'm saying.
these
People
teams
say it's
don't
a
care about
given.
making it to the Final Four, or like they want to win the national championship.
Yep.
They're going to have to beat the best teams at some point in the bracket. I know it doesn't make the most sense to have the number one team face arguably maybe the tougher opponents in the first round, but that's the draw they got, and
And look at the matchups you're
it
getting.
worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And and for the record, I don't think it's always going to work out that way, right? Like if
right,
Ohio State just beats Michigan, this all this looks a lot different.
exactly,
Like
yeah,
you're going to have Ohio State probably at the 5. So Texas is at least down to the 6. Well, and Ohio State and Oregon are playing, so Penn State's probably a lower seed as well. Penn State's probably down to where Notre Dame is. It all looks way different. So to act like it's gonna be this brutal of a look every year is just ridiculous. And they keep thinking they know results when clearly they don't, because teams that aren't supposed to be here are here, and that's the beauty of college football. We're seeing SMU, Indiana, quite frankly, I think a lot of people didn't think Notre Dame might get in after that loss to Northern Illinois, and Notre Dame's been on an absolute heater, just blowing people out of the water. I know it hasn't been the best competition, but they're blowing everybody out. So like, I don't know, like the winner of that game, especially if Georgia's without their starting quarterback, like I think that's a great test for Georgia in the opening round, no matter who they get out of that winner, so out of that matchup. So yeah, I think it's great. I still think the perfect number is 8 teams, but they're crying at 12. It's gonna go to 16 eventually, but um, yeah, I don't know. I think these matchups are going to be amazing. I hope that once they actually happen, obviously, I hope they're competitive, just good, close games, and then I just hope people just shut up and watch, because this is what
right,
everyone was pushing for. Would say it was going to make the sport better, and I just, I don't agree with Klatt's argument at all that it devalues the regular season because Oregon's got the toughest draw. And there is an easy fix for this, and he has said this, which I do agree with. Going forward after the first round, I'm okay with like a reseeding, right? Or if like an upset
sure,
happens. So like, you're the 1 seed Oregon, and SMU upsets Penn State, and so SMU's the worst team ranked that's still alive. Like I'm okay with them then getting slid over. Kind of like I think the NFL does it
sure,
that way now, don't they? With how the wild card games
yeah,
shake out. So I'm okay with them adopting that model in the future. But we knew we weren't going to get that this year anyway. So I guess I don't get the massive outbreak of crying. Like I don't.
right, yeah. No, it's ridiculous, and it's a bunch of people who wanted to see Alabama continue their legacy and all that. But I know, I mean, Reese Davis went to Alabama. Like, I get why you'd
Yeah.
be upset about it, but it's like, come on.
And we got to stop pretending to ignore too. I'm blanking on Oregon's head coach, Lanning.
Dan
He called
Lanning.
this out too. He's like, well, that is their contractual relationship. Like we can say that's not a part of it all we want, but ESPN and the
Right.
SEC, that's who does their TV deals. It only makes sense for them to be wanting their brand, who they have all the rights to their games to be in this thing all the time. Be like, look, we got the best this, we got the best that. That is what they want to do, and they just sit there and think that you are an idiot if you question it. You just point out the relationship, and Reese Davis is like, "No, why would we do that? I mean, come on, like serious." And he just acts like the most preposterous thing.
Right.
It just ridiculous. Shooty's here.
Yeah.
These matchups are awesome, but all I've been hearing in popular media is disappointment. It's crazy to me. Everyone wanted this expanded model, but it's not good enough. Exactly how I feel, Spencer. Exactly. I think they just want
Yeah.
an pure SEC postseason. Ridiculous. They do. And all these fans be like, really wonder, like, Lane Kiffin's been the worst one, by the way. That guy, 3 losses. You spent all week crying about how you suffered a second loss and you should be considered over the ACC and the Big 12 champ. And then you go out and lose to Florida? Are you kidding me? That how bad of a look is that, by the way? You went all this time crying and then you drop the final game and you just look like a complete idiot, or your second to last game. You look like a total idiot. That guy has failed almost his whole career, fired from the NFL, uh, left USC for Tennessee. That didn't work out. Or do I have that reversed? Left Tennessee for USC? It's tough to follow his trajectory at this point, but it didn't work out. He's at Ole Miss, and he's just bitching and moaning. I don't know how else to say it, folks. That's all he's doing. And yeah, all these people that want all these SEC teams in here, you get the SEC tournament every year. It's called the regular season, and it is awesome. That's why college football regular season is the best part. Make no mistake about it. You have the in-conference rivalries, you got these big games, and they all have implications on how the final thing's going to shake out. It's the best. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to sit here and be like, "Dang, I wonder if 9-3 Alabama would have won it all this year, who finished what, 4th or 5th in the conference." I don't care. I'm not going to lose any sleep. If you didn't win your conference and you're arguing that you should be in, I lose no sleep over your tears that you did not get in and didn't get your chance at a national title. And if we're going to cry
Yeah.
about seeding, because the teams they're picking on obviously are SMU and Indiana, Texas beat 0 ranked teams. Georgia beat them twice. To me, that should be a major red flag. I don't think Texas should be hosting an opening round game, in my opinion. They didn't beat anybody. They beat Michigan and Vandy, I believe, are their best wins by the end of the year. So,
Well, they beat
um,
Oklahoma. Oklahoma beat Alabama. I mean, that
yeah,
should be pretty good.
exactly. So, yeah, I'm so over the
Yeah.
crying, as you could probably tell. I'm just shouting now, but
To go back to the whole like schedule too. I mean, you don't think Miami wishes they had some better, tougher opponents that they've beaten?
right, right.
Like this whole these. I mean, it's probably mostly SEC
And the,
ads being like, "Oh well, we just have to cancel all these games if it doesn't matter who we
yeah,
play." It's like
Bama's AD,
it
an actual quote.
absolutely does. It absolutely does
Yeah.
because that's why you were even so close. If you would have just beat Vandy or Oklahoma or either or, you're in. You didn't
They
do it.
already they already get the biggest advantage, the SEC, of where these teams start in the preseason rankings. Missouri is only still ranked to give Bama and those other SEC teams a ranked win. Missouri lost to every tough team they played, and they got smoked in quite a few of them. There's plenty of ACC teams that are of the same caliber of Missouri that could be ranked right now. So I don't want to
Oh yeah,
hear when you're pulling up wins of people in the 20s, like, and I'm not saying Illinois should not be in, but Illinois got a legit argument if Alabama does. That's what I'm saying. Like, as far as that, if we're stretching it to 3 losses and we're just supposed to get the best teams in, when does it end? Like, how many losses is like too many? Is it 9-3? Is three
right.
losses the maximum losses you can get in with? What if they had dropped another one, but a close game, 8-4? Like, but we all saw what they did to
Yeah,
Georgia. Are we still fighting for them to get in? Like, no. Take a seat. You
yeah.
had a
Just
great run.
win, just win your games.
Exactly. Like, the
It's
losses
easy.
were to Vandy
Oregon
and
did it.
Oklahoma. Yeah. And Oregon play. Look at all the great teams that the committee
Yeah,
respected, and they're 13-0. They just took care of business. I hope they wear their team colors going forward, but they've been fantastic.
yeah. Black and silver.
Oh man, the helmet was so good too. It's just like, come on, man. Like,
Kurt is
they're
an
a great
Oregon
team.
hater, folks. Let's get that on the
I'm
record.
not an Oregon hater. I hate the uniforms. I don't. I mean, they get painted as what NIL is like become, but I mean, realistically, Oregon's just doing what every SEC team, every Ohio State, Michigan has been doing for a while now. They're just bankrolled legally by Nike to do it, so that's why they get more hate. Which, to be honest, I don't love the model, but that's what the model is. So I'm not going to fault Oregon for that. I just wish they'd wear their team colors. I am in the minority of I do hate their uniforms the majority of the time, the combos, but it is what it is. Anyway, folks, I think that's all we got for this one. We're gone over an hour. If you're still here, thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be here again. Gophers in the bowl game. We'll be breaking that down. Probably do. I think it'd be fun too. I'm not sure everyone's schedule, but to do like a bowl mania pick selection, have the people jump in, compete with us. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And since we got a decent amount of subscribers now, but anyway, I go on and on. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon. As always, go Gophers.